At-home COVID-19 testing kits have been on store shelves for a few months now, but now they're getting harder to find on those shelves. I'm Zach Dodge with the story.
Plus, we'll hear from a local health expert about what the upcoming flu season could have in store for us. And a former Neosho teacher says a pride flag in his classroom was meant to show that his class was a safe space. But following complaints from parents, he's left the district.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Flu season is approaching, and as COVID-19 cases increase in the region, experts worry about a flu season compounded with the COVID pandemic. This is KOAM News at 6. Mercy's infectious disease preventionist Donna Stokes recommends people get vaccinated against the flu and says it's safe to get with the COVID-19 vaccine.
Right now, CDC is saying that you can take COVID vaccine and influenza vaccine at the same time. We're obviously going to do one injection in one arm and one in the other. So if there is a reaction or a local reaction, we know what they're reacting to.
Flu numbers dropped last year. Some experts believe that was due to an increase in masking. Missouri Highway Patrol released some statistics from the Labor Day weekend. Authorities say there were 351 vehicle accidents over the holiday weekend, with 103 injuries and 7 fatalities. When it comes to people on the water, there were 7 reported boating accidents with 4 injuries and 1 death. There were no reported drownings over the weekend. Checking in with Nick Kelly for a first look at the weather.
Good evening, Dal. We had a pretty good day overall. Granted, it was a little hotter compared to yesterday, but the humidity stayed pretty low, so it still felt pretty comfy to be outside. Can't help but notice, though, a little bit of cloud cover on the horizon as we look north and west from 7th and Range Line. It's not picking up on the isolated storms that have already gotten going across parts of Linn and Anderson counties, but it is picking up on more cloud cover ahead of our approaching cold front, which you can see just starting to cross over the Kansas Turnpike, and that will be the focal point for at least isolated, if not widely scattered thunderstorm chances, mainly this evening. Then I think we'll get rid of them as we go through the overnight. Something I'll keep a close eye on. But in the meantime, upper 80s to lower 90s all across the board. And another thing behind this front, after it clears out the rain chances after midnight, we're going to go from a hot evening down to lows in the upper 50s to lower 60s. We've got a few good days lined up behind this front. We'll break down the numbers here in a bit.
Catch you then. An openly gay teacher has resigned from the Neosho School District after being asked to sign a letter promising to not talk about his sexuality. John Wallace, a teacher at Neosho Junior High, started the school year with 2 items above his whiteboard, a pride flag and a sign reading, "In this classroom, everyone is welcome." After receiving complaints from parents, he says he was instructed to take both items out of his classroom or face being fired.
It was on the bookshelf as a representation for the students who may be closeted, they're not out, or maybe they are out, but they don't know where to go for support. And that was what my classroom was. It was a support system for those students specifically, as well as all students, because that's what the message was above my whiteboard.
Tonight at 9 and 10, we're going to hear from a parent and students, as well as the Neosho School District's response. Brings us to today's KOAM News Now. It's the poll question. Is it okay for junior high school teachers to refer to sexuality outside of sex ed classes? You can participate in the poll at koamnewsnow.com/vote or through the KOAM News Now mobile app. Results are updated live, and we're going to check in on them a bit later. Still ahead, the Webb City Farmers Market is undergoing a leadership change. And later, how a display at a St. Louis park is honoring the lives lost on September 11th. At-home testing kits for COVID-19 could be scarce on local shelves. Rapid testing kits that can be used to detect COVID at home had been in stores for a few months now, but some stores are sold out and a local pharmacy can't get any more. KOAM's Zach Dodge has details.
Usually, if you go to Stone's Corner Pharmacy, this sign would be accurate.
We have had them up until last week even but right now they doesn't appear to be available.
COVID-19 at-home testing kits have been on store shelves for a few months now, but right now Isaacs is having a hard time getting more.
Even searched online for some different places that we wouldn't typically use.
In an article by the Wall Street Journal, Abbott Laboratories, the maker of the popular Benex Now testing kit, says they expect supply to be slim over the next few months as they ramp up production. Supply elsewhere in the 4 states depends on where you call. I was wondering if you guys had any of the COVID at-home testing kits available?
Yes, we do. I think we are out.
I think it shows that people are interested in knowing, whether they're positive or not, which is obviously a good thing.
KOAM would like people to keep a few things in mind, though, if they're going to use an at-home antigen test. The first being follow up with a doctor if a test comes back positive.
They may want to get treatment or may need to get treatment. And so I think that's, something that's extremely important for them to think about.
As well as follow up with the health department so you can get a PCR test.
They really want to get another test to be able to show whether they're positive or not. Because if they can go into the system, they can say that they've had it and, their places of employment can treat them as if they're fully vaccinated.
In Joplin, Zach Dodge, KOAM News.
Van Kam reminds residents that in Kansas, tests through a health provider are still free, and Access Family Care does offer rapid COVID tests as well. Joplin's Arvest Bank is honoring teachers through its We Love Teachers campaign, and they're looking for nominees. The campaign awards 154 teachers with $500 gifts. It's a total of $77,000 in prize money. Over the campaign's 5-year history, they've doled out more than $245,000. The money is spent on classroom needs for public school teachers. To nominate a teacher, just go to the Arvest Bank Facebook page and look for the We Love Teachers post between September 13th and 19th. A Neosho County resident is $250,000 richer, minus some impending tax payments. The resident won the top prize on the Kansas Lottery's $30 multiplier super ticket game. The winner thought at first they had won a mere $25,000 until they kept scratching and found they had won the big prize, 10 times as much. Kansas Lottery says the winner didn't tell anyone at first. Instead, they went straight to Topeka to claim the prize money. The winner plans to spend much of the money on expanding their business and put some toward family expenses. The Webb City Farmers Market has new leadership. Eileen Nichols, the market manager and founder, resigned back in February, and now Rachel Lynch has taken over. She inherits a thriving farmers market and some challenges.
We're looking into how to staff, I suppose, because she was a volunteer. All of her time was just an act of love for her community, and so we're looking at how to continue the same programs without the same type of manpower.
Lynch says she'd like to eventually expand the market further as more vendors express interest. Missouri Southern is seeking entries for its homecoming parade. This year, it's a celebration of music, school spirit, and community pride dubbed Decades of Southern Spirit. They're looking for local high school bands, big and small, as well as student organizations and athletic teams. Entrants will be eligible to win cash prizes. All floats must be decorated in a way that supports the theme. Again, Decades of Southern Spirit. Later, the controversial tweet raising concern at Kansas University.
But first, our front on the way in. We'll have some thunderstorm chances this evening and some nice days behind it lined up. Forecast up next. We kept things pretty quiet so far today and a little bit hotter when you compare our temperatures today to how they panned out yesterday. Certainly had quite a chilly start this yesterday morning, I should say. Upper 50s to lower 60s across the entire board. Then we hopped back into at least the lower 90s. After dropping back into the upper 60s this morning, we went back to 94 so far at Joplin Regional, but now we have our next cold front already making its presence known in the form of a few isolated storms, especially in northern parts of Bourbon County and parts of Linn County as well. But looking back southwest toward the Wichita area, you can see a few more radar echoes trying to pop up, signs that the front's trying to fire off some more isolated storms. Again, it was amazing to see how we had nothing throughout much of the day, but then as that front started to knock on the door, that is when the front decided to come alive. The front, which will work in from northwest to southeast. Again, the prime time with these rain chances, it's going to be now up until about midnight. Then I think we're in pretty good shape as we go into our Wednesday morning. In the meantime, though, we're looking quiet for 7th range line. Cloud cover ahead of the approaching front, though, in the far northern horizon. But Joplin is dry and still a bit hot. 91 degrees, not much of a bump in the feels-like temperature since dew points are still in the lower 60s. So still feels pretty good outside and maybe just a hair warmer. Feels like maybe 92 at the worst case scenario. Upper 80s to lower 90s all across the board. But once that front sweeps on through, we're going to have temperatures fall through the 90s, 80s, 70s, ultimately down to the upper 50s and lower 60s. So we're talking about a good drop in temperatures on the way once we get past the front and these thunderstorm chances that are still trying to develop as we go through the rest of the evening. Fortunately, though, while we may have to deal with some isolated, widely scattered storms here, any good severe weather is going to stay up in the Great Lakes where you have better dynamic support up that way. But we still have to deal with this cold front before we get the high pressure to give us a few nice couple days to get us through the middle of the week. Not to mention the jet stream setup will be on the cooler side of the jet before this upper level ridge wants to build some heat back in as we head toward the weekend. So to recap again the forecast here, we're already seeing some isolated storms developing out in parts of southeast Kansas. That'll be the continuing trend. Here's 8 o'clock, maybe a little bit more scattered by 10 o'clock, but once we get to this point, the front's going to be really pushing off toward the south and east. So I think by midnight, we'll be pretty much done with the bulk of these rain chances. Can't rule out maybe a random shower in our far southern counties before we hit sunrise Wednesday morning, but behind the front, upper 50s to lower 60s to start the morning out. Then we're just looking really good for tomorrow afternoon. With plenty of sunny skies lined up, we'll go from 61 in the morning, 79 by noon, afternoon highs right around 84 degrees. We'll keep things pretty quiet for Thursday morning, maybe a little bit of high cloud cover, but lows in the upper 50s. And the rest of the 7-day forecast, I say, is looking okay for the most part, certainly over the next 2 days. 84 tomorrow, 59 Thursday morning, highs are 86. Those are the 2 pick days to enjoy outdoor plans before we see the 90s head back in on Friday. Mainly 92 degrees, but even if we try to hold on to the lower to mid 90s for the rest of the weekend and early next week now, and maybe a few random thunderstorm chances on Tuesday, the humidity isn't eager to come on back, which I am all for at this point.
Yeah, those temperatures are a lot more bearable when the humidity is low, for sure.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Nick. Still ahead, reaction to a controversial tweet sent by the KU student body president. A park in St. Louis, Missouri is honoring victims of 9/11 ahead of the 20th anniversary. Take a look. Volunteers put up more than 7,000 flags in Forest Park. That's one flag for each American service member and first responder who has died since 9/11. The 13 service members killed in the terrorist attack in Kabul last week are among those being remembered. Each flag includes dog tags and the picture of a service member killed in wartime. The display is nearly 11 miles of flag rows across 10 acres. Volunteers are helping families and friends find specific heroes based on the year of their death. America's Heartland Remembers is the group that organizes the annual event. It's set to run through September 12th. The KU student body president is facing outrage from some after retweeting a comment that many consider anti-American. Anna Auld looks into this today to try to clarify what the student meant by the tweet.
KU student body president Naya Mikadu getting lots of feedback from a statement she retweeted reading, "Happy Friday, everybody. Death to America," with a grinning emoji, making many upset and wanting clarification on what she meant by the post. One student replied to her post saying, "As a military-affiliated student, I cannot stop thinking about this. We are only days out from the recent military deaths in Afghanistan and days away from 9/11, which impacted my family in ways very few understand," saying it was uncalled for. The president then explained, saying, "This is death to America that was built on indigenous genocide and the blacks of black slaves. If you're worried about the people in the service of the military, be mad at your government, because my words shouldn't make you this mad." Later tweeting, "I have free speech like anyone else, and I'm not going to apologize for advocating for the death of a country built on racism." We reached out to McAdoo to explain further, and she would not do an interview or take any questions.
The KU communications director was not aware of the tweet and said they would look into the situation. Final check on the weather is next. Take time now to honor a local veteran. Private First Class Walter Nelson served in the U.S. Army during World War II. And we are proud to salute Private First Class Walter Nelson. He's tonight's four-state hero. You know, you can learn about hundreds of other heroes from all across this area. You can search by name or by hometown. We're also always looking for more heroes to honor, either veterans or currently serving service members. Just click on the link on our website anytime, KOAMnewsnow.com. Chris Warner joins us now with a look at what's coming up tonight at 9 on Fox 14.
Tonight at 9, we'll hear from parents and students about a former Neosho teacher after he says he was discriminated against for having a pride flag in the classroom. Plus, why one restaurant in Texas is using robots to help serve customers, and an animal typically seen at the zoo gets to take a trip to the beach. Got those stories and a lot more tonight on the KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14.
Chris, thanks. Let's check in on today's KOAM News Now Insta poll question. A former Neosho teacher resigned from the school district when asked to remove a pride flag due to complaints from parents. Now we're asking, is it okay for junior high school teachers to refer to sexuality outside of sex ed classes? At this point, the overwhelming majority, 90%, say no. You can participate in the poll at KOAMnewsnow.com/vote or through the KOAM News Now mobile app. Results are updated live, and we're going to have the final results tonight at 10. A Florida woman says it was the small daily gesture by her husband that kept her fighting to stay alive in the ICU. Claire Metz reports.
It is the most terrifying thing you will ever experience in your life. Just laying there, not being able to take a breath.
I could see the fear in her face. I said, "All right, put your shoes on, we're going."
Donna and Gary Crane say days after Donna contracted COVID in mid-August, the virus made her so ill she had to be hospitalized for acute respiratory failure.
That was the last I saw her for 10 days.
I couldn't see him, and that was the hardest part, is not being able to have somebody there.
As Donna lay in ICU, she said staff was amazing, caring for her. But there were frightening moments.
You would lay there in bed at night and you would hear code after code after code being called. And you just wondered, what's going to happen.
To ease her fears, to show Donna she was not alone, Gary, a lieutenant with Marion County Fire Rescue, showed up every morning in the hospital parking lot before he went to work, holding big block letters that say, "I love you," every day for 10 days.
I just wanted her to know that, because I know she was going to be scared and I couldn't be there with her. And I just wanted her to know that I'm there.
The nurses would sit me up in the bed, let me look out the window so I could see he was there at 8 a.m. And I knew, okay, we're gonna do this.
Though she's out of the hospital, Donna's aware the road to complete recovery will be a long one. She's just grateful she survived, because the couple has much to look forward to.
I just found out my daughter is expecting we're going to be grandparents. And that went through my mind. I want to hold my baby.
Wow, nice message. That support can obviously make all the difference in a lot of cases.
Sure can.
The weather pretty nice for the next few days.
Yeah, we just have to get past some isolated, widely scattered storms this evening, but once we hit midnight, they'll be pretty much out of here with the passing front. Speaking of that front, it's going to drop us into the upper 50s to lower 60s tomorrow morning and back to 84 with mostly sunny skies. A great Wednesday lineup. We'll go 86 for Thursday. We do have to bring the 90s back in starting this weekend, but even if the 90s return, I'm not seeing the humidity eager to return, though.
The most surprising part of that forecast, lows in the 50s.
Hey, I'm good with that. I'll take it.
Yeah, a little taste of fall.
Yes.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you right back here for KOAM News at 10. Let's make it a great evening.